Sure, Charlie Brown. I can tell you what Christmas is all about.
Merry Christmas, Taxonomy Titans. Carlos and I are currently enjoying Christmas cheer with our friends and family. If you find yourself driving, baking, or doing some task that requires some animal information, here's a throwback to our Christmasiest episode yet, about reindeers. If you'd like to give us a Christmas present this year, pop on over to our Patreon. Joining is free if you want to hang out and chat about animals, but if you find it in your heart to make it snow some dough, you'll get to hear our pre-show warm-up conversations and we'll be eternally grateful. The next time you hear from us will be 2024. So again, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and as always, thanks for listening.
For behold, I bring you tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord. That's what Christmas is all about, Charlie Brown.
Reindeer are famous for flying, being rude to those that are different from them, and fiercely defending Johnny's Turbo Man action figure that's nestled safely under their tree. But one reindeer has an unusual nose that's even more famous. Researchers have spent entire minutes figuring out why red color is best color for glow nose, so that we can have a better understanding of the story's scientific accuracy. But it turns out that seeing red is actually a good thing if you're a reindeer here in life, death, and taxonomy.
Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's your 30 minutes of interesting animal information. I'm Joe.
And I'm Carlos.
Thank you to Cassie for the creation of our theme song. To hear more of Cassie's music, please search Cassie Michelle on YouTube or Spotify.
And thank you to Johanna for the creation of this week's artwork. To check that out, you can visit us on Facebook or Twitter at LD Taxonomy, or visit us at our home on the web at ldtaxonomy.com. And thank you to our patrons, Tristan Taylor, Carol Raspulich, and Jess Raspulich. Thank you for supporting the show.
Yeah. And today we're talking about the Titans of the Tundra, the cervids of Santa. But more on that later.
Wow, you came up with some good ones. Santa's cervids.
I had to bring it because we forgot to do that little intro blurb last time because we had some housekeeping.
Oh, did we? Yeah, good. Because I kind of I was just scraping the bottom of the creative barrel today for my nicknames, but I think I got some. But I like this cervid of Santa. It sounds something sounds wrong about it, but in a right way. But anyway, what are we talking about?
We're talking about the reindeer.
Yes, we are. And
we made it for winter, but we didn't make it for Christmas.
Yeah, this one, as I started building out the major fact, I was like, man, this would have made a good Christmas one. And then I was thinking, should we wait until this upcoming Christmas? And then, nah. We don't work
Still
like
good
that.
For winter. Right now, as we record, there's a winter storm dumping snow on the north of this country. So, you know what? This one's for you guys. We're sitting here in the what temperature is it up there in Jacksonville? Still pretty nippy, but not dumping snow.
Yeah, now it's in the 50s, but it was 28 yesterday morning, so that's pretty cool.
It was 49 last night.
It could have snowed in Jacksonville, but it did not. That would have shut things down more than anything had it snowed. But yeah, we're talking about the reindeer. And as I get into what the other things it's called, I feel like I'm about to open eyes, change people's worlds. Because until I started researching this, I did not know this. And Joey, you mentioned this. You texted me earlier today, saying that you had just learned this as well. But another thing that the reindeer is called, this is what science sometimes calls it, is a caribou.
Yeah.
It's
Same thing.
reindeer and caribou are the same animal.
Now, in America, when it's domestic, it's a reindeer. And when it's wild, it's a caribou.
Yeah, but it refers to the same
Yeah.
binomial nomenclature, the same genus and species.
In Europe, it's always a reindeer.
And in my mind, up until this point, caribou were just a different kind of deerish thing.
Yeah.
Like you had elk, you had moose, you had regular deer, and you had caribou and reindeer.
There's also a ton of different subspecies.
Yeah, there are.
And they can look quite different, but they're the same. Same binomial name.
Yep. So it's also so it's called the caribou. But we're gonna call it here the Icariboots fen.
Boo.
What?
Because I don't care about Sven.
Sven Svensson, the guy who can hold his breath for more than 22 minutes?
I thought you were talking about...
I care about Sven Svensson. I'm just
I
kidding.
thought you were talking about the
It's the
caribou.
the reindeer, the caribou from Frozen.
Yeah. Although it's probably a reindeer in Frozen because that is in
Scandinavia.
a Nordic country, yeah.
Yeah. Or whatever like Norwegian word they have for reindeer. And we're also going to call it Rudolph's Red Rosacea Rally.
Speaking of Scandinavian,
Speaking.
remember when we were talking about the guy who has the record for the elephant bar lift?
Yeah, last episode.
That guy, Half Thor Bjornsson,
Oh yes,
is the
yes.
mountain.
Oh,
He's the mountain from Game of Thrones.
huh. I just admitted that I watched Game of Thrones.
I didn't watch all of it. Did you watch? You didn't watch all of it.
No, I couldn't take it anymore. But yeah, that's a big brosif, and if anybody could lift that much weight, I would totally believe that he can,
Yeah.
because he is the mountain. They actually found someone who more or less fits the description from the book. Yeah. How about you taxonomize Half Thor Bjornsson for us?
Okay. He's a human being.
That's
Subspecies large.
he's
Homo sapien,
Homo sapien largest.
grandiosa.
Grandiose, musculus.
Let's get into the taxonomy of the reindeer. It's in the kingdom you know, love, and are in. The kingdom Animalia. It's in the phylum Chordata. You know what that means. It's in the class Mammalia because, it's Carlos's animal, so he always does mammals.
I always do mammals.
The order is Artiodactyla, which is even-toed ungulates? Or odd? Even-toed ungulates, yep.
Yeah, like the humpback whale.
Yeah, that's the best example we can think of.
Yep.
Not the giraffe. Not a cow. The humpback whale. The family is Cervidae, and that is deer. True deer are hooved ruminant mammals.
It's a cervid.
And it's in the subfamily Capreolinae. New World deer.
So it's a goat.
Those are New World deer, but that is about the caribou and about the reindeer. That is deceiving.
Because it spans New and Old World.
Yes, very interestingly. It's in the tribe Rangiferni. Rangiferni? Soft G, hard G?
Rangiferni? Like range?
Yeah. And
Or
guess what
wrangle.
that is?
Guess what that is?
Yeah, it's caribou.
Yeah, I figured.
It's funny. There's the tribe it's the only member of its tribe. The genus is Rangifer, and the species is Rangifer terrandus.
I think it's because it's not sexually isolated. So, kind of like a dog, there are lots of different subspecies, but they can all mate with each other. So they're not different species. They are all...
They're not geographically... Well, they are now. But when there was some sort of Bering Strait, there was... Okay, we'll talk about their range.
Yeah, but since we're in the business of naming things, it's time for my favorite part of the show, nitty-gritty nomenclature. Because I know you know what a group of this animal, of reindeer, is called.
A sleigh.
Yeah, it's called a Santa's sleigh, S-L-A-Y. So this is the part of the show where I ask you, Joe, a question, and it's different this time. It's what is the translation for this word? And I don't have one for the nomenclature, but I do have one for the word caribou.
Interesting.
It is a mix between French and Algonquian, which is the native Canadians. A mix of those two words to describe the animal we're talking about. So, does it mean A, snow shoveler, B, strong hoof, C, river walker, or D, majestic horns?
Snow shoveler? I'm going to go with snow shoveler because if it's not right, it's a good fake one.
Is it your final
answer? Yes.
Ding, ding, ding. You're correct. It is snow shoveler.
We'll talk about why that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I forgot you knew some stuff about this animal. Yeah, and I thought I'd get you with majestic horns because it's like, oh, they don't have horns, they have antlers. But did the Algonquins know that back in the 17th century when they were classifying this thing? Probably
yes, they
not.
did. Yes, they did.
They knew the difference between horns and antlers and classified them as such.
Yes, the powers of observation.
it mattered to them scientifically.
They would not have. Oh no, they would have been. They might have been aware of an animal with horns. The bison.
Yeah, but would it matter that those were horns and that the deer had antlers?
Could matter.
They're like,
use every part of the animal.
And you can use horns and antlers. Just, you can harvest antlers. Because they grow back.
True.
Yeah, so caribou means snow shoveler. So that's the second thing that you probably didn't know about caribou. First is that they're reindeer, and two is that it's called snow shoveler, which and you can probably imagine why they're called that.
Yeah. So have you ever seen a reindeer?
Probably at a zoo or something. I've never been up that far north.
Would you like me to describe it to you?
Sure. It's been a while since I've seen the Santa Claus 2.
It's a meme. That's a meme.
What?
It's a TikTok thing. It's probably from some movie I don't know about.
Would you like me to describe it to you?
Yeah.
Is that when Legolas tells Gimli that he...
No.
Dang it. That would be a meme I could get behind.
Oh, it's a soundbite from the show Skins, which I am only tangentially aware of.
I am more than tangentially aware of Lord of the Rings, so let's just go with that.
So am I. Yeah. Let's get into what it looks like. The reindeer is a cervid, so it has a deer-like body, though they are sturdier than what you might be thinking of when you're thinking of a deer. Their stockiness is somewhere between a deer and a moose. A moose being the biggest and a deer being smaller and thinner.
Especially because you gave it too many cookies. Or muffins, sorry. You give the moose a muffin, you give the mouse a cookie.
That's true. What do you give a deer? Grass? A blueberry? They have thick, large antlers that can grow to be around 3 feet long, give or take a good amount based on what subspecies you're talking about. They have dense fur coats that keep them warm in the winter and in the Arctic. And there are 14 subspecies that range in color and size. Some are almost completely white, while others are dark brown, but many have lighter colors on their bellies and a nice little scarf of like white or light tan.
An ascot?
Yeah, Ascot Fitzgerald. But let's talk about their relative size in relatable terms. Welcome to the Love Measure Up segment, the official listener's favorite part of the show. The part of the show when we present the animal size and dimensions in relatable terms through a quiz that's fun for the whole family. It's also part of the show that's introduced by you. When you send in audio of yourself saying, singing, or chittering, the words measure up into ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. We still don't have a new Measure Up intro for the year 2022.
The streak continues.
So that means we get to hear from an animal. Carlos has to guess what it is.
Ascot Fitzgerald is exactly what I would name a reindeer if I owned one.
Without further ado, the listener's favorite part of the show. Is that A, a river otter? Is it B, a beaver? Is it C, a human child? Or is it D, a baby chimpanzee?
I am going to go with A. River otter. Although I'm fairly certain that my human children have made that sound quite a bit. When I say fairly certain, I'm 100% certain. Just kind of a squeak.
Yeah. Final answer, river otter?
But yes, I'm going with the river otter.
The correct answer is B for beaver.
I knew it was a water thing. I could hear the water there.
There was no water. He was munching on like a carrot or something.
Really?
It sounded just its mouth sounds.
It sounded like there was a bunch of water around.
No, it's he's eating like a sweet potato. Oh, and it's like that. That's ambient room sound. If you're talking about just the like white noise.
Yeah, it sounds. I mean, my room doesn't sound like that, but you know.
But if you turn up your mic really high, yeah, it would.
The gain.
Okay. So there are a lot of variations between subspecies in terms of size. The following is for the boreal woodland caribou.
Okay.
So their height at the shoulder. If you were standing next to it, how high would it be? It's between 1.0 and 1.2 meters, or 3.9 feet.
Okay.
Smaller than a horse, but some can be up to 5 or 6 feet. Quite large. How many reindeer would go into the world's tallest snow person?
Oh boy.
And here's a hint. Don't give me any woke points. I say snow person because the particular snow being in question was female. In that it was made with beautiful long eyelashes and a snowflake, stylish snowflake necklace, and was named after a senator who was a woman. So this was a snow woman. It was made in Bethel, Maine, a town that beat its own record after creating the world's tallest snowman in 1999. Both snow people had tires for teeth, even bigger tires for buttons, and full 25-foot spruce trees for arms. She, the snow woman, was named after Maine's senator at the time, who was delightfully called Olympia Snow.
That's
a real human being. Snowe.
It's like the Feels like the evil president in the Hunger Games. Not so delightful now when it's Donald Sutherland that you're picturing.
Not snow delightful.
Okay, well that gives those are actually some pretty darn good hints. The tires and the trees as items were definitely help. So this is like a small mountain of a snow woman. I think this is like a Frankenstein situation where they created the first one and then the snowman wanted a companion and then hid underneath their house for a year and then then tried to kill the person who made the snowman because he wouldn't give him a wife. I'm getting off track, but I imagine that's how it went down. I guess we'll go with 60 feet. That would be very, very big. But not so big that it's impossible. So we're going to go with 60 feet. And I don't have to do any conversions because we're already working with feet. So I'm going to say 15.
15 reindeer?
15 reindeer stacked on each other's shoulders could get to the top of this snow woman.
Final answer.
Yep.
The correct answer is 31.3.
Oh boy, this is a like a what 170 foot
22.
No, 122.
Olympia was 122.08 feet or 37.2 meters.
What was I thinking? I was doing math wrong in my head. Oh wow, this is very tall. I'm just again like when it comes to buildings, I picture the building I used to work in, and that was 60 feet tall, and it was enormous.
Yeah, this was wow. When you put it that way,
twice as big.
I've stood next to that building, and this would be so much bigger.
This would be twice as big as that building. It's a 12-story building. It would be taller than every building in Washington, D.C., except for maybe the Washington Monument.
It is very triangular. I'll give you that.
I imagine. It's got this tiny little head at the very top. It's just a snowball for a head, but it's just a mountain with a snowball on top of it. It's really just cheating.
It's wearing a hat. A big hat. For a boon for you, you get to build on the knowledge you already have.
Oh, good.
Let's talk weight. They're between 110 and 210 kilograms, or 242 to 462 pounds.
Oh, boy.
Heavy boy. So how many reindeer go into Olympia's weight in snow?
Oh, boy.
The weight of the snow, not including the weight of the tire.
I'm not going to be the one to estimate a woman's weight.
It's the weight of the snow only, not the tires, not the trees.
That could not possibly factor into my calculations. It's like I get it. I know it's so well, but then the tires throw me off. I was like, man, I forgot to add the extra 40 pounds of tires.
Oh, it's more than that. The button tires are I
guess it's 120 feet, huh? So
huge.
That's a lot of tires, especially if you're going with the floor length gown. That's buttoned all the way down for some reason.
Here's a hint.
Should I go with 1,000,000 pounds? 1,000 or 500 tons?
Here, her predecessor, who was named Angus, King of the Mountain, who's named after Angus King, the senator, the governor and senator.
They keep making these snow politicians,
and both have mountain names too. King of the Mountain and then Olympia.
Oh yeah, her name is Olympia. That totally went over my head.
Her predecessor Angus was made in winter and didn't melt until June. Olympia was completed in February and didn't melt until July.
Yeah, I mean these are just basic. I haven't looked up the picture yet, but I'm just picturing a mountain with a snow a large snowball on top.
I saw some pictures of it like from start to melting, and at certain points it's like leaning a lot. So you could not be anywhere near it.
Yeah,
I'm imagining like
super dangerous.
Chunks of ice are falling. Yeah.
This thing is just calving like crazy. And speaking of calves, reindeer. I'm going to say 1 million pounds. It's 500 tons. So the answer is 2,100. 2,200. We'll say 2,200.
2,200?
2,200 reindeer.
Final answer.
Mm-hmm.
Correct answer was 28,138.
Oh, boy.
Olympia
Water's
was
heavy.
13 million pounds.
Oh, man. I got to see a picture of this.
If you want to see a picture of this, dear listener, you can click on the link. The hyperlink says World's Tallest Snow Person on ldtaxonomy.com. Are you ready for some fast facts before we get into the major fact?
Olympia Snowman. Wow. That's a lot more snowmanish than I was anticipating it to be.
You thought it would just be a cone, but it looks like a snowman.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
There's no like big round parts. It's just it is a cone, but it looks like it's good. It's got arms. It's got eyes. What is the nose?
Probably just plaster or something
Yeah, it's probably just plastic.
Well, like I'm looking at pictures of it melting and like trees are growing out the side of it. Wow, that is a big snow person. Snow lady. All right, yeah. Give us some fast facts.
Okay. There's a ton of information about the reindeer, so this is only scratching the surface. But reindeer grow antlers, which we've already talked about a little bit, which are distinct from horns because they are seasonal and fall off after mating season, but they're also distinct because they're made of bone, and horns are made of keratin, like hair and fingernails. Reindeer are the only cervids in which the females also regularly grow antlers.
Huh.
Yeah. Like a shark we've talked about in the past. I forget which one. I can't remember. Maybe you can remember. The reindeer conserve heat with countercurrent heat exchange.
Isn't that the thresher shark?
Might be the thresher shark. Their veins and arteries are intertwined. Veins.
Yep, it's the thresher shark. I remember this.
Veins carry blood to the heart, and arteries carry it from the heart.
Yep. Love it.
Is that correct?
Yeah. Sure.
Warm arteries flowing into the legs share heat with cool veins that are flowing back into the body. And the arteries are, I read, knotted and intertwined.
I'm not listening to you anymore.
Because of your hemoglobin phobia? Hemophiliac?
I'm not a hemophiliac.
That's a different thing.
I'm also not hemophobic. I don't have a debilitating fear of it. I just think it's disgusting and it hurts my brain.
An aversion's blood and blood in veins.
Yep. So they've got it. They've got the blood.
Are you just go on cruise control for the next sentence? So this keeps their legs cool and prevents overheating while running, but it also helps to maintain their core body temperature without the heart having to pump quickly. So it's pretty interesting. Like just the fact that like the highways that are going to and from the heart in the legs are all intertwined so that they can share heat. And they're not the only Arctic animals to do this. There are foxes and moose also, I think, have this countercurrent heat exchange. So they also have crescent-shaped cloven hooves that are ideal for digging. So they're, shovel feet or whatever their names are.
Are you done talking about blood?
Yeah.
Sorry,
I'm talking about hooves.
I actually took off my headphones. I'm not...
So they have crescent-shaped cloven hooves, so they can dig in the snow find stuff to munch on.
So they're snow shovelers.
Sort of like they do with their feet. What the bison does with its head. Remember we talked about how it like
roots around,
roots around in the snow.
It's like a truffle
moves
pig.
A lot of snow so they can get the nice crunchy stuff underneath. So in the summer, their hard hooves become soft and spongy for more grip in the wet tundra. And in the winter, the fleshy pads of their feet tighten and shrink, exposing only the hard hoof to the ground. So they adapt seasonally with their feet and their footwear.
So do I.
Yeah, I don't, because I don't live in a place where I need to.
Sometimes I wear flip-flops, but not now.
I only wear hip flip-flops to the beach.
I wear them to let my dogs outside when I had to stand there and wait for them to be done.
Reindeer knees click when they walk.
So they need knee replacements.
No, it's by design. It's actually a tendon moving over a bone and snapping. The sound of a herd can be heard for miles, allowing wanderers to locate the rest of the group. And it's an example of mammalian percussive nonverbal communication.
Okay, two things. Number one, can you imagine if that was the sound effect that played whenever Santa's reindeer were just galloping across the skies, was just the sound of crunching bones? And two, I feel like this does not help them not get eaten.
It only occurs when the full weight of the body is placed on the foot. So it wouldn't happen to Santa's reindeer.
So Santa wouldn't be listening to a nonstop Cosmo Sheldrake song for his whole entire flight.
I know Cosmo Sheldrake listens to us on Twitter, and there's almost no chance he listens to the podcast. Listens to us. He follows us on Twitter. But if he is, that's your next idea for your next song. The sounds of the clicking knees of
reindeer, and then sleigh bells over it, and then that's just it.
Yeah, that's like his next Christmas song.
That's your next.
He's ever done a Christmas song.
I want 16 minutes of just that.
But that's all I got for that. There's tons more, but
all right.
Let's move on to what you got.
The major fact, which I'm calling Lobos and Lichens. Actually, that kind of works. Even on other levels, like lycanthrope. Huh. Anyway, reindeer are some of the only diurnal, meaning daytime, mammals that can see light outside of the visible light spectrum, which is like from violet to red. A very short, a small range of wavelengths that humans and most daytime mammals can see. Most other animals see light outside of the visible spectrum. It's actually the rule rather than the exception to see shorter or longer wavelengths. But for daytime mammals, this is very rare, and the reindeers got it. So light with longer wavelengths than red, that goes into infrared. And then light with shorter wavelengths than violet go into ultraviolet. And these are all wavelengths that are cast by the sun onto the earth. And UV light is the primary source of light or electromagnetic radiation at night. So we can't see the visible light spectrum isn't really that available to us. So as humans, we can't see very much, but there's a lot of UV light, especially reflecting off the moon. And so nocturnal animals with their special eyes, and if you've ever shown a flashlight at like a cat or a raccoon or something like that, a nocturnal animal, you can see the reflective parts of their irises that allow them to take in this UV light and see much better at night. But that's common for nocturnal animals, not very common for cervids. And researchers have very recently run tests that show that reindeer respond to changes in UV light only, so they can definitely see it and detect it. The thinking here is that it helps them see better in the Arctic and subarctic regions that they live in, because twilight in these areas lasts for months. It's just constantly in Alaska and northern Canada and Scandinavia and Siberia. If you don't know this, they have this thing called the midnight sun, because if the further you get to the North Pole, or the closer you get to the North Pole, there are large portions of the year where the sun just never actually sets. It just kind of floats above the horizon, and so it's always twilight for large portions of the year. And so during this time, UV light is very prevalent. It's one of the more primary wavelengths available. So for humans, it can be very difficult, especially with all the snow around. If you combine the twilight with the blanket of white snow, it's everywhere. It can be really hard for humans and other daytime mammals to distinguish objects from each other and see very well. Humans refer to this as snow blindness. I don't know what other mammals refer to it as, but they probably have some sort of grunt for it. And speaking of twilight, wolves, they have fur. And their fur absorbs UV light, so they appear darker to the reindeer than and in contrast to the snow around them than they do to humans. So where a human sees a wolf against a snowy background and sees like a light gray and can see the wolf, sure, but maybe not like there's not that much contrast. Specifically, like the wolf's coat is supposed to help it blend in. So it can be tough to pick out. But for the reindeer, they see like probably very, very dark gray or like almost black shadow against the snow, because the wolf's fur absorbs the UV light and the snow reflects it. And this is also true for lichens on trees, which is what the reindeer eats a lot, especially in the winter. So this allows them to kind of very quickly spot where food is and where the enemies are. That's why I called it Lobos and Lichens, which is just their favorite restaurant. So at first, this is going to be like, that's it. That's the major fact. Isn't that interesting? But then I encountered an article, which was, it's one of my favorite articles. Now, I'll just explain it. So we all know that Rudolph's red nose saved the day on the year of that dreadful Christmas snowstorm. But there may be more to the fact that his nose was red than meets the eye. That article I mentioned is on Frontiers for Young Minds. And it was written by Professor Nathaniel Dominy. And he covers the Rudolph having a red nose as a reindeer in minute detail, with this like tongue-in-cheek seriousness. I mean, it's structured like it has an abstract. It's structured like a legitimate like scientific journal entry, and it does have like legitimate data and stuff in there, but just the way he structures it. Here's some of my favorite lines from the article. Quote, "The story of Rudolph's nose and its brilliance in fog is familiar to most children, adults, and biologists." This is that third category. Also, quote, "As a general rule, scientists avoid studying anomalous traits. The fact that luminescent noses are so rare explains why the advantages and disadvantages of luminescent noses are practically unstudied." And also, quote, "The noses of reindeer have a complex system of blood vessels and are therefore quite warm. If too much heat is lost from his glowing nose, Rudolph could risk hypothermia. It is therefore extremely important for children to provide high-calorie foods to help Rudolph maintain his body temperature on Christmas Eve.
Like cookies.
Yes.
Yeah.
But Santa doesn't eat them. He gives them to Rudolph so he doesn't die of hypothermia on your roof. And then last quote, such studies could shed new light on the amazing biology and vision of reindeer. Get it? New light? Because it's Rudolph's nose. Anyway, Nathaniel points out that fog, especially thick fog, diffuses all types of light, which is why it's hard to see in fog. But blue light in particular, or light with shorter wavelengths like blue, violet, and ultraviolet light, tends to be suppressed even more by fog, more than other and longer wavelengths. And so since reindeer have eyes that are tuned to see short wavelengths, the UV, they're virtually blind in the fog because it diffuses, it suppresses all that light, which would render a midnight sleigh ride in the fog impossible. But fortunately, Rudolph is not the blue-nosed reindeer. They chose it on purpose. Red light travels furthest in the fog, which would help anyone trying to see, but it would be especially useful for Dasher and the gang since they would be blind without it. It doesn't just help them, it makes it possible. But then this got me thinking, like, I imagine Rudolph wouldn't be able to see anything. Like, he's got this snout that's sticking out. Like, you can see your nose. You can always see your nose. Now you're acutely aware of it. But if you had a snout like a deer, you would always be able to see this nose. And if there's this thing that is so bright that it cuts through thick fog sitting on the end of your nose, it's like shining a flashlight in your own eyes when you're trying to go forward. I don't think he would make a very good sleigh leader. He'd just be this blind. I feel like the ones directly behind him should be the ones that are.
No, they can see. Everyone behind him can see, but Rudolph can't see a dang thing.
No, exactly.
So
I mean, I guess Santa is steering the sleigh.
Yeah.
And he can see because of Rudolph's nose, but Rudolph is just staring directly into this red
beam,
like lighthouse that's on the end of his face. Yeah, it's kind of like that thing where you watch in medieval movies, or whenever somebody has a torch, they always hold it in front of them. Like you're not going to be able to see anything if you hold the torch in front of
your head.
You got to hold it behind you. Then you can see. You're just going to see a torch, and nothing else. But anyway, yeah, I thought that was interesting. And Nathaniel also thinks he was kind of a buzzkill at the end, though, because he thinks that Rudolph's red nose might be that way because it's, quote, infected with nasal parasites and simply red and swollen. Thanks, Nathaniel.
We knew it was fake, Nathaniel. Gosh. Cool.
But yeah, so, and there's more to that article. I mean, there's a point in the original Rudolph story where Rudolph hides in some holly bushes because he wants his nose to blend in with the holly berries, and because he's really impressed with how she played Catwoman that one time. But then he analyzes like the brightness and the spectrum of the berries on holly bushes, and then uses that to analyze the exact color of Rudolph's nose. It goes into excruciating detail, and this guy is a hero for it. But yeah, so we know two things for sure. That reindeer are also caribou, and Rudolph has a nose that is infected with nasal parasites. If you walk away with two things to tell everyone you know, I want those to be the two things you remember from this. Merry Christmas. But yeah, that's all I got.
That's all I got. Is that all you got? Yeah, okay.
All right, so for you out there in Podcastia, look for lobos and lichens. Stay grounded in the fog, and keep your nose free from nasal parasites, like all the reindeer except apparently Rudolph here in life, death, and taxonomy.
Hey Taxonomy Titans, I just want to remind you that we now have a Patreon. Patrons can see full video episodes and get shoutouts on the show. But ultimately, it's a way for you to help us cover some costs and get even better. Still, reviews are the best way to help us grow. So if you haven't left one yet, we'd really love to hear from you. As always, thanks for listening and engaging.
Life, Death, and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
Here's a fun fact for all the people that listen at the end. So, did you know that reindeer also help the Inuit people get past snow blindness as well? And here's how.
I did not know that.
The Inuits have traditionally made snow goggles, so there's really funny pictures of Inuit people in the 1800s wearing these like trendy looking sunglasses almost. They look like 80s.
They look
something
like
that you'd see in the 80s.
They look like eclipse glasses.
Yeah,
I've seen these.
They're like wood or
I think
like
that
walrus ivory.
the same principle applies of
yes,
shielding your eyes during an eclipse and also avoiding snow blindness.
But the caribou help them because sometimes it's made of caribou antler, and the strap that goes around the head is caribou sinew.
You see, when you said that they help them initially, I thought that they like led them places.
No. They give of themselves. If you find something else to strap it around your head, the animal doesn't even need to die. You just get them in the spring. It's like buying Christmas lights after Christmas. It's cheaper.
And you don't even have to touch the animal; they just fall off anyway.